Welcome to Business Not 101, hosted by me, Olivier Bousset, founder, entrepreneur, podcast creator. In this episode, we explore the founder's journey from their aha moment to the roadblocks and problems, to what they would have done differently in hindsight, and the unique solutions they came up with. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hi, Sharon. Welcome to Business Not 101.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Let's get right into it. So please introduce yourself and give us your 60-second business pitch.
Yes, so I'm Sharon. I was born in Paris, grew up in Canada. I then studied in Tel Aviv, New York, and then back to Paris. This is when I launched my business. Actually, it was right during the pandemic. So I launched a social media agency that is meant to grow the online presence and community of small to medium-sized businesses. Today, we're a team of 3. The office is in Montreal, but I'm currently back in Tel Aviv for expanding the business there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's been a beautiful entrepreneurship journey.
That sounds amazing. So what was the aha moment? What was the spark that sort of started this whole adventure?
I feel like I never knew what exactly it is I wanted to launch, but I always wanted to have this freedom of being, an entrepreneur and work for myself. So I feel like the aha moment was during COVID, all the businesses closed, right? And all the brands that I was really close with in Montreal, New York, Tel Aviv, Paris, from basically all around the world, they were basically sending me messages. How do I post stories? How do I do this now that everything is online and everything has closed down physically? So I started helping out brands, consulting for them for free. And my dad was kind of like, well, you should start a business. So I had no idea what it meant. It was like, okay, start a business. What do I do? So I found a name. I worked with a graphic designer and we worked together to make a website in 3 weeks. And then when the website launched, I got my first 3 clients. And it was crazy because I had no intention of doing this for the long term. It was kind of a project at the beginning. I was saying that it was a project, but now it's not a project. It's a full-on business.
That's really interesting. So it really sort of was conceived relatively recently. And I guess you had experience before you started this already in social media and you already were working in the field.
Exactly.
Did you find, because it's such a new business for you, did you find you had a lot of roadblocks at the beginning, things that you just weren't expecting from your experience or talking to people about starting your business?
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of everything, it was a roadblock because I was diving into it without any formal, I guess, education or knowledge about business and about starting your business. So everything down to making invoices, pitching myself, getting new clients. These are all things now today I feel really confident in and making and doing. But to give you an example, I had one of my first clients. I was too afraid to kind of give out a price because I didn't even know how to make a correct pricing. And I ended up not telling him that these services were not free. And so he was thinking that those were free. I was expecting, to be paid for it. When I sent him an invoice, he was kind of like, well, I don't get it. I thought this was, a free trial. So I feel like those were the roadblocks right at the beginning. You live and you learn and you dive right into it. And that's how you, in the end, know what to do. But I feel like the main roadblocks were really that I had no knowledge about anything. And it's really a lesson that even though you don't know, if you don't know, if you never studied it, if you've never done it before, if you're interested in it, you're going to end up, finding yourself doing that thing, doing something that you've never done before. And this is how you learn. And, I feel really grateful because today, looking back, it's funny stories that were a bit cringy back then, 2 years ago. But today it's like, okay, it made me stronger as an entrepreneur.
It's a really interesting story. That actually happens a lot. A lot of people have said the same thing to me where they started and they didn't know how to price it and they didn't know how to approach customers and then the customer expectations. So that's great points. So, and I was going to say, sort of looking back at that experience, would you suggest somebody to go and do a course or something first from your experience? Or do you think like at the end, you're going to live and learn?
I do believe in the living and learning. It's also my personality type. I'm very much of a doer rather than a thinker. If I want to do something, I'm not going to sit on the couch and write down a plan for hours. I'm really just going to dive into it. And, I'm in that mentality where it's like, okay, if it fails, it fails. If it does great, it does great. We'll see what happens. So I know this is not for everyone. I feel like once you know yourself, then you know what's best for you. I know for me, it's more of a live and learn. And I know for others, it's more of like, okay, let's take a course. But I feel like even if you are a thinker and, take a course and spend more time on the learning before doing, make sure that you're still going to do afterwards. Because it's a shame if you are taking all these hours learning and you're not actually applying it to whatever it is you want to be doing.
I agree with. Did you have a business mentor, or you had mentioned your dad earlier? So was it sort of that was your business mentor, or
He was my mentor in like how to get started in terms of, okay, there's the bank account that we need to open, there's all the mini administrative things that I had to do. But I actually have a business coach now, and that really is the best investment that you can do for yourself. Whenever I feel stuck, whenever there's a moment where I'm like, I'm not sure where to go next, what to do, the ideas that I have, the vision I have for my business, the business coach is really here to guide you, just like a life coach. But it's really, okay, present moment, what are your needs? Let me help you, guide you through those. And ever since I've had a business coach, things have been, magical.
that's actually a wonderful point, because it's something I asked people in past episodes. Did you have a business coach, or do you have a mentor, and sort of lead into that?
Yeah.
So you've answered it, and a lot of people who've picked up a business coach or even a life coach have said really positive things that's changed their lives.
Yeah.
So, sort of taking it from that point, what was one of the key aspects on how you built your community around you? Because it's not just a community of customers, but it's as well your community of people and support groups.
Yeah. Well, I love this question because I've been doing it on my personal account for quite some time now. And it all started when I was 20 years old, living in Tel Aviv, being at school. I'm a very bubbly, extrovert person. I love to speak with people, know their story, where they come from, what is their story. So when I was living here, I started a travel blog. And when I did this travel blog, I was able to connect with people really from all around the world, but especially international people living here in Tel Aviv. And then when I went to New York, when I went to Paris, I really expanded this community of people that were following me on my personal account. So when I launched BMG, everyone was so supportive, so happy to be part of that community. And what I did actually recently to really reinforce this whole community aspect and everything is I launched something called BMG Talk, which is reuniting creatives from all around the world on Zoom, and have this just an hour session with creatives from all around the world discussing themes about passion and entrepreneurship. So we did it. It went so well. And I think there's little things like this that you can do that really reinforce and strengthens the people that follow you. In the end, it's really important. It's not just followers following you. They follow you for a reason. They love your content. You inspire them. You're giving out something to them that makes them happy. So I really want to nurture that with everything that I'm posting and doing on my personal Instagram. But with the BMG Instagram account, it's so fun because now I have a team and there's the office, and I feel like everyone has been invested in the growth of it. So the community really are my friends, essentially, like my community on my personal account. But them being involved in the whole progress of BMG has been super special to see.
That's really a good point, and sort of leads me into a question. What was one of the aspects that you and your team sort of came up with to create the community? What, did you just go straight through social media, or were you doing a lot of pulling from your personal acquaintances and connections and network group?
Yeah. Well, I think the most important is when you are genuine, staying true to yourself, being your authentic self. People are attracted to that right away and they feel it through the screen. And for me, I was speaking a lot about BMG to everyone that I, spoke to, got on a call with, texted, saw in real life, on Zoom, everything. So it was mostly from my personal account. And now that I have a team, they also, I make sure, for example, that they have Brands Media Group on their bio on Instagram, because it is important. They are part of the team, part of this workplace. So I want people to know where they work. And so it's mostly through social media. It's really great. That's why I always say the power of social media is so special.
Certainly, it's in your field, right? It's what you're doing. So do you have a high conversion of people who meet you directly on social media and to turn into customers? Or are you still doing a lot of business pitching once somebody approaches you?
So right now we've tried prospection for the past year and a half, where we're actively looking for new clients. Every single client has come through my personal Instagram, every single one, and we've had maybe 25 in 2 years and a half, 20, 25. And now they're starting to come from referrals from clients because we built a big enough portfolio. But no, only one client actually came from an ad on Facebook, only stayed 1 month though. The rest is really, I'm actively posting about BMG on my personal account. So people are, they know that's what we do. And I feel like every time they hear of social media needs, left and right, they're like, oh, Sharon, like she does this. Let's connect.
And I find in agencies, they say referral and their own community is really their core business, that they create that sort of like starts off as friends, come see me, and then I'm going to answer some questions, and then you turn into a customer. If you look back, would you say there's one specific person you would hire right away?
Well, I started working with someone a month after launching just because I had a job already lined up in Paris and I needed someone to focus on the clients while I was finishing up my internship, which I ended up quitting earlier because the business was picking up. But I feel like, again, everything happened for the right reason at the right moment. The people that I've worked with in the past, and it was a total of 6 different people, they all came at the perfect time for exactly the needs that we had. So I wouldn't go ahead and change anything. The only thing that I would do is give out this advice if people are hiring that are listening to this. Really, really, really trust your gut. Even if it looks all nice on camera, it looks good on paper, you really just want to trust your instinct. If it doesn't feel really entirely right to hire this person for whatever reason it is, then really listen to yourself, because then you're going to say yes, and then it's going to be cut short because on the long run it's not going to work. And I'm talking from experience. And that's because I didn't listen to my gut, because I was like, no, it's impossible. It's like all perfect, so it should be perfect. So I think that it's, important to listen to yourself in those situations.
Yeah, that's 100% true. I find it's so important to be able to go and listen to your instincts, but just your feedback, how you interact with the person. The person could be really amazing, but just you don't have a proper connection, and that could really hinder, certainly in the startup phase, because that's a big problem. In a large corporation, I think it could be absorbed and sort of pushed away, but in a small team, no. And I always ask people, do you have an accountant, or is that something you're going to be hiring at one point? Because one of my hardest parts is doing accounting.
Me too, because I hate math, I hate numbers. Now I'm more comfortable with them, I would say, but I'm still not doing it myself. I did get an accountant. He is in Montreal, and he is everything that I wished for. And I I think he's the most valuable part of my business, because I don't understand numbers and I hate numbers. So I feel calmer and more peaceful now that he's come into my life.
So looking at closing a new sale of your product, what is some of the tools you guys use?
Yeah, no, everything is manual. So we first get on an introductory call. Sorry, I can't say that word. Introductory call with the clients, the prospect client. And then, this is like the first call. We get to know them. We see if it's a right fit for us also. There's some people that we said no to work with just because now we get to be a bit more selective, which is really nice. And then, we see the vibe, we see the feel, we see what they need. Then we send out a proposal. And then from the proposal, if it's a yes, then we start the onboarding, which is all done manually from us. It's a lot of Google Drive sheets to be created, all of that. And then invoices and, all the administrative things. And then if they say no, then we ask why, because, if it's a budget constraint, that we want to know, okay, how can we, make it better for next time? But everything is done by me for this, for the sales, closing a sale. We don't use any program.
You gave a really good point there, that when you have a customer that comes up to you, and obviously you meet them and you sort of get to know them on social media, and then you're introducing your services to them. And what are some red flags that you say, oh, this is not going to work out for me, particularly with this customer?
So because we're a social media agency, for example, the biggest red flags for social media is if someone tells me, well, I want to get to like 10,000 followers in a month. So, this is a huge red flag, because first of all, that's not even one of our goals. We want to create loyal people who will really enjoy the content, or here for the long term. You can have, if someone doesn't get that you don't need 10,000 followers to be successful, that if you have 100 followers that are really all watching your stuff, that's more valuable and important than having 10,000 people and only 100 people watching your things. So this for me is a big red flag, because they don't understand the real value of social media. And I could try to explain it to them, but if they have something in mind and they're not trying to be open-minded about it, then it's going to be a problem on the long run, because we have a lot of clients, we're really busy, we don't have the time and energy to change someone's mind and opinion about it. We're not therapists, we're social media managers. So I know it sounds a bit aggressive, but it's more of like it's the same for any other field. It's just that I think people take it very easily because they think, oh, it's social media, it's not as important. But it is. Like, if you are willing to pay for a social media agency to bring out the best for your business, then, we know what we're saying when we mean that you don't need X amount of followers. It takes a lot of time to grow. It's a lot of consistency, and that people can really trust us. So we want to feel that trust between us and the client.
Yeah, that's really important. And finding the metrics that work for them. I find that a lot of customers have unrealistic expectations, certainly around marketing, as well as around sales. And it's a difficult thing for, I think, for small agencies to sort of convey, like, you're not going to build up 10,000 true followers.
Oh.
And a lot of them assume that they could just purchase that and that they've checked it off their list. Mm-mm. So that's a really good point. Sort of taking that to the next level, if you can leave yourself a 30 or 60-second voicemail to when the day you started, would there be anything particular you would say, hey, watch out for this or do this instead?
I love this question so much. I feel like I would tell myself, you're going to have really, really, really bad days, and you're going to have days where you literally just don't want to work, but it's okay because you are in the end staying consistent. And that's really what matters. It's consistency to still show up, even on days where you don't feel like showing up. And that, yes, you'll have bad days, but you'll also have amazing days. And in the end, it's looking at it on the long term. So really, like, don't give up. This is really what I would tell myself.
That's nice. That's good. That's really good.
Kind of like pat on the shoulder,
Yeah, like a little, yeah, exactly. Like a
Like,
little
you got this.
morale talk. Yeah. Switching gears a little bit here, where do you see your agency in 5 years? It's always like, I used to say 2 to 3 years, but now I realize everybody should aim for a 5-year goal.
Honestly, I want to keep it at as stable as it is today, with of course the growth and having more clients, a bigger team. But I don't want to be a huge agency. That's not the goal for me. I want to, on the long term, have a co-working space that I open for creatives to really reunite and meet. So, if that means for it to be in Montreal, great. But I would love also to expand and also have something in Europe, just because I am French, I'm European. So having, something on the other side of the world is also really special for me. But I want to keep, this is more of a personal 5-year goal, but I want to really have a really healthy life work balance. And I've only been having it now for the past year because the first year was not at all a good balance. So I really want to keep that.
Yeah, it's so hard when you first start. And I think the first 24 months when you start a business is just lost. It's like, I don't think people realize that it's like full time.
Yeah.
It's like having a baby, having a new puppy. It's full time.
Yeah.
There's no stopping.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like I learned a lot from it, where it's so draining. So I told myself, okay, this is not going to be a healthy lifestyle if I continue this way.
Yeah, well-being, certainly for startups and entrepreneurs, is super important. Like being able to decompress and walk away from it for a bit. Having a team in place is really important. I think it's for solo entrepreneurs, it's really hard. When I do projects on my own, I see the difference physically and mentally. I'm drained. So that's really interesting. So now I want to learn more about you as an entrepreneur. So you, the person, the entrepreneur, the person behind the agency. So the first question I have is, what makes you super productive as an entrepreneur?
So I've always been very self-motivated. I remember even when I had the blog, I used to wake up. First of all, I wake up so early every single day. I'm usually up at 6:30, and especially when I'm doing something I love and that holds me accountable, I'm up, I'm ready to work. So I'm a very productive person. I don't know what it is. I've always been like that. Always, an early riser, ready to kind of tackle the day. I feel like what really does help me though is having a to-do that I do daily for each client. And then, hopping on a call at 8 a.m. with the team every single day really is a good start of the day. I read this thing and I saw it on YouTube a few years back, and it said when you start your day and you make your bed, then, your brain is automatically like, okay, you started your day and you did something. So now you're ready for whatever comes next. And I feel like for me, it's that. It's when I go step by step and then, I cross it off my list, but I'm very intentional and I'm still doing things with meaningfulness to it. It really helps me to be even more productive than I already am.
That's really interesting. I don't do my bed in the morning, so I'm horrible at that. So, sort of sticking with this, do you use any software or tools that help you to be productive, or are you just doing like the old school, writing everything down in your journal?
So we all have journals slash notebooks for our to-dos. In the office, we have a huge board with clients, kind of names, and what we're doing for them, how many times we're posting, and all that. And we also are using Slack for team management, communication. It's been great. It kind of goes back to the life work balance. We used to text on iMessage and have group chats for iMessage, but I really switched to Slack because it's not fair for the team and also for myself to be speaking, to them on a tool that is meant for, texting friends, family, all that. So now we really moved to Slack, which is great. And we use Planoly, which is a scheduling platform tool for clients. So these are the two things that we use, and that's it.
Yeah, those are good. Excellent. So, what is one personality trait you feel is really important as an entrepreneur?
I think you need to be very open minded. Just yesterday, I had a team member express voicing some concerns that she had. So, it's taking in that criticism, constructive criticism, and being okay with it, learning from it, applying it. Because in the end, if your team members, something's not going right, you really want to make sure they are happy in the environment that they work in. So being open minded, being very patient also, because no matter what your goals are, today we live in a world where we want things right away so quickly for us, but nothing happens overnight. And I feel like, again, showing up even on days that you don't want to show up. So having this dedication to, it is that you're doing. But again, if you don't love what you're doing, it's going to be hard. So make sure that you love what you do.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Here's one question that's sort of new this season. What is one common business myth that you had always assumed or heard before you had started your business?
I'm going to use the fake it till you make it because I sometimes still use it today. And that I use it more in the, let's say, I'm on Zoom and I'm stressed out because, sometimes we work with clients who are 20 years older than me. So I feel like an imposter. I feel like, oh my God, why would they speak to me if I'm just 26 years old. I'm trying to navigate a business and I don't know what I'm doing, but at the same time, I know what I'm doing. So the fake it till you make it culture, I feel like sometimes I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to fake it till you make it, but I'm not really faking it. I know what I'm saying. I don't know if that really answers the question. I feel like I don't know, I just dive into it and then it works in my favor, but I'm still like putting on this surface where it's like, okay, I feel confident in what I'm saying, even though yes, I am a bit stressed deep down.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, but I feel like a myth is also that people say you need to work like never ending type of work, you have to work until 2 a.m. That is a myth because you get your sleep and then you'll come back in the morning way stronger and way healthier and mentally prepared for the rest of the day.
Yeah, the hustle culture myth, where people are saying they're hustling all day. I think that's something that's dead. That was never really productive, and I don't think it achieved as much as people thought. Yeah, I agree with you. So moving on to the next question. If this is one of my favorite questions, if you could meet any entrepreneur, living or dead, today for a coffee, who would it be and why?
So I would meet Sofia Amoroso. She's the founder of Nasty Gal. I don't know if you've heard of her.
Yes, I have.
Okay, so I love, 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 love her drive, her energy, the content she creates, the things she speaks about. I think she's so insightful and she knows so much because she started from nothing. She started as a homeless 20-year-old living in San Francisco who was working in an art school and started selling vintage dresses on eBay and really grew her business like this, which is it's just like one of the most craziest entrepreneurship story that I've heard and ended up whatever now selling Nasty Gal. And today she's actually doing courses for entrepreneurs and business owners, which I wish I could join. I just don't have the budget for it yet. But she has just so many insightful tips and tricks to really make it out there. I would totally get coffee with her.
That's a good choice. That's a good choice.
Yeah.
I've seen her work and some of her postings on YouTube and some of her interviews, and she's very insightful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. One of my second favorite questions is, what is one business book or nonfiction book that really impacted you and you're starting your business?
Yeah, so there's two, but I'm gonna give you one. I know we had talked already about one, which is The Imposter Cure, which really helped me for imposter syndrome and really believing in yourself and not giving up and showing up consistently. However, there's another book I want to mention also. It's called The Making of a Manager, and it was written by someone who works at Facebook. Her name is Julie Zhou. I think that's how you say her name, Zhou, Zho. And she basically was an employee at Facebook and overnight was promoted to becoming a manager and had to manage a team that used to be her coworkers. So they used to be on the same level, and then overnight she becomes a manager, has to manage 20 people that are used to her being side by side with them. So she talks about every single thing you can think of managing a team, and for me that was so great to read, because I'm 26. I'm working with people who are just below my age, but not that much younger. And it's hard that, you're in the spotlight in that sense where you have to manage a team. You have to make sure they're good. You have to be kind of like a mom to, those babies of yours, nurturing them and all that. And at the same time, I'm still young. So I don't, I'm friends with them at the same time. We have a very sympathetic, amicable, relationship. So this book really helped me ground myself in, okay, what's my role in this company? How do I, act effectively as a manager? And yeah, if you are a manager and you're confused, you're lost, you need guidance, on how to not feel bad, how to kind of avoid a certain conversation. Not avoid certain conversations. Actually go into those conversations that you're trying to avoid, then this book's for you. And it had made such a major impact on my work life.
That's really interesting. I've never heard of this book, so I'm going to look it up right after.
You'll love it.
I think it's perfect. That's good.
It's great.
So I could tell the enthusiasm behind it. So it's helped. I'm going to definitely check it out. So my last question is, how can people reach out to you and connect?
So our Instagram page is at Brands Media Group, and then the website is brandsmediagroup.com. Brand is actually my last name, so little fun fact. And my personal page is at Sharon Brand. So I hope to connect with everyone on there. And if you have any questions, anything really, just to say hi, then you can always slide in the DM.
Excellent. We're going to add that to the show notes.
Amazing.
So thank you so much for participating. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, we can't forget the question that I wanted to ask you, which is,
yes.
And it really goes back into how we met originally and connected originally, which is from a networking event that I attended. So within that theme of networking, what would be, a tip or advice that you would give to anyone who is trying to, get into the whole networking aspect and, get out there and putting their name out there?
Yeah, that's a great. I'm an introvert, so it's actually really hard for me to go out and do it. So I sort of force myself. But that's sort of the key. Just get up and do it, and just try to attend as many events as possible, and be open and be, like you said earlier, authentic and be the real you, as well as not to be aggressive with an agenda. I think you need to, when you first start off, you need to flow into the room and just be like, I'm here to listen and learn, even if I'm going to learn something I already know or I might know better, just to take it in from the person's perspective. And let yourself just be connecting with people and not to be scared. I think that's probably the ultimate.
Yeah. And I feel like even if you are scared, then it's acknowledge it. Don't be like, oh my God, I don't want to be scared. It's just no, okay, I'm scared. It's normal. There's people that I don't know around, but we're going to make the best out of it. And, let's see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. And embrace that fear, because it's something that most people try to hide, and they play up this persona that's not really real, but everybody's a bit nervous when you're meeting new people, and to have fun. I think that's the hardest part for a lot of people, because they have too much stress coming up to the event and trying to blurt out what they need, and it's not the way to go about it. So yeah,
for sure.
I agree.
For sure.
Well, thank you for that question.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a fun time speaking.
Thank you for joining. It was really fun. Thank you for joining us today and listening to this episode of Business 101. I hope that this interview gave you some valuable insights and that will help you along your business journey. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to reach out to me. And as always, please like, share, and follow. Thank you. Until next episode.